The story opens with a young man regaining consciousness in pitch-black darkness, completely disoriented and unsure of where he is. At first, everything is just black and he can't see a thing. But then, a dim glow gradually starts to emerge in front of him. The light steadily gets stronger and he soon realizes it's coming from inside what appears to be an eggshell. A small crack in the shell lets him peek through, and through that narrow opening, he spots a forest outside. But instead of giving him answers, it just leaves him even more baffled, especially when he notices that he can't move a single part of his body. Before he can even begin to process what's happening, a strange status screen pops up right in front of his eyes. As he reads it, his mind blanks out because it flat out tells him that he's a dragon egg, and that one sentence completely messes with his head. The screen then fully expands and a mysterious divine voice echoes, calmly explaining that this interface shows all of his current stats in numeric form for easy understanding. Still dazed, he yells at the voice, demanding to know what the hell is going on. But the voice replies without a hint of emotion that it can't provide any further information because it is at level 1. That pisses him off even more, and in his irritation, he tries to wriggle just a bit. But to his shock, the slight movement causes his body to topple out of the tree he was resting in. He tumbles all the way down a hill, spinning helplessly until he crashes near a riverbank. Now lying still beside the water, he finally catches a glimpse of his reflection in the stream, and sure enough, what stares back at him is the smooth, rounded shape of a dragon egg. Noticing how overwhelmed he is, the divine voice finally takes pity on him and decides to explain the situation more clearly. It confirms that he really is a dragon egg, which at least in this world counts as an F-rank monster, the absolute weakest. And it warns him that if his shell cracks completely, he'll die instantly, and that tiny opening he made to look outside already puts his life at risk. The voice continues, saying that while dragon eggs start off as bottom-tier creatures, they carry the potential to evolve into terrifying dragons, assuming they live long enough to reach that stage. But there's a catch. Dragon eggs are considered a high-value snack to many monsters, and since they don't have limbs, the only way to move is to roll. Even after learning all of that, he still couldn't wrap his head around what the hell was going on. Figuring it was way too risky to just stay put, he took off rolling at full speed, hoping to put as much distance behind him as possible. Sadly, his genius escape ended with him tumbling right off a small cliff. It wasn't even the first time he'd been falling a lot lately, and because of that, the system casually chimed in to inform him that his fall resistance had leveled up from 1 to 2. Not that it mattered much because the fall still took a chunk out of his HP, and reminded him once again that he really needed to quit being reckless. Beat up and drained, he decided to pass out for a bit, and sure enough, by the time he woke up, his HP was back to full. That at least gave him a little peace of mind because it looks like sleeping fully restores health in this weird, hostile world. Afterward, he went back to rolling around, deep in thought, wondering what was waiting for him once he finally hatched. Would he become some hulking dragon, forced to brawl non-stop just to stay alive? He kept rolling forward, lost in his own head, until something suddenly made him stop cold. Not too far away, he spotted a massive insect. His gut screamed danger, and without wasting a second, he ducked behind a nearby tree and immediately used his appraisal skill. The result pops up. The damn thing was called an egg eater, pretty self-explanatory. As soon as the creature locked eyes on him, it darted straight toward him with killer intent. He bolted, rolling away as fast as his little body could manage, but even he knew this wasn't sustainable. He couldn't outrun it forever, and just rolling wouldn't save him. And at this rate, it was only a matter of time before he got caught, and he had to flip the script somehow. The monster chased him relentlessly, right up to the edge of another cliff. The moment it lunged to devour him whole, he threw everything he had into a last-second dodge, smashing straight into it and knocking it clean off the edge. The beast went tumbling down the slope and got shredded on impact, and just like that, he'd scored his first real kill. The system didn't waste a beat, and it announced he'd earned 12 experience points and had officially reached level 5. And with that, all his stats maxed out across the board, but that wasn't all. He now unlocked the requirements for evolution, and the system gave him 2 options: evolve into a baby dragon or a little dragon. With no clue what the difference even was, he hesitated, so the system stepped in with an explanation. Apparently, the little dragon was a dwarf species of dragon. Sure, it was considered small by dragon standards, but when fully grown, it was still bigger than a damn bear, and infamous for its brutal fire breath. But as for the baby dragon, the system breaks it down bluntly. It's not exactly built for combat. Its claws and fangs are too short to do any serious damage. But in exchange, it carries massive potential and can eventually evolve into a wide range of dragon species. Of course, that kind of potential comes with a catch. Baby dragons are considered premium-grade prey. Monsters and adventurers alike are constantly hunting them down, making survival that much harder. So naturally, he goes with the little dragon. It just seems like the smarter pick, more survivable, more straightforward. But right after making his choice, something unexpected happens. The divine voice suddenly wraps around him like a warm presence and tells him not to sell himself short. It says it's expecting great things from him and that he should never settle, never aim low. That leaves him rattled and he starts second-guessing himself, wondering if he only picked the little dragon because it felt safe. He remembers how the system described the baby dragon as a high-potential path, full of possibilities. That gets him thinking maybe the little dragon can't evolve much past a certain point, or worse, maybe it can't evolve at all. With that uneasy thought lingering, he makes up his mind. He switches his choice to the baby dragon, deciding he'd rather take the risk than live with regret, as no way he is going to let fear dictate his path forward. The system acknowledges his choice and grants it. Almost immediately, his body begins to shift and reshape. He evolves into a small, bright yellow baby dragon, exactly as he'd selected. And along with the transformation, his stats get a huge upgrade, and he gains a ton of new skills. But surprisingly, his HP and MP don't refill after evolving. So even though he's stronger, he's still completely drained, and he'll need proper rest before doing anything else. Just as he's wrapping his head around all that, his stomach growls like a beast. Loud and clear, he's starving. So he glances over at the worm he took down earlier, and weirdly enough, it actually looks kinda appetizing now. That's when it hits him that he needs protein if he wants to keep growing stronger. With his dragon instincts kicking in full force, he doesn't overthink it. He dives right in and devours the whole thing like it's the most natural thing in the world. After that meal, he crashes, and when he wakes up the next morning, he feels completely recharged. Body's light, energy's full, and he's never felt better. He strolls over to a nearby river and catches his reflection in the water. That's when reality fully sinks in. He's been reincarnated into a whole new world. But there's one thing that doesn't sit right. He has no memory of his previous life. No name, no past, not even a clue if he used to be a girl or a boy. Right as he's mulling that over, he suddenly senses something behind him. Turning around, he spots a bunch of dark worms creeping up. But this time, instead of panicking or running for it, he charges straight in without hesitation. With his new abilities unlocked, he absolutely wrecks the first wave in no time. And as he keeps mowing them down one after another, he unlocks even more skills, making the fight smoother and more efficient with every passing second. Once he's finished wiping them all out, the hunger kicks in again. But he refuses to touch those nasty worms since he remembers exactly how awful they tasted last time. Nearby, he spots a cluster of mushrooms and figures they're worth a shot instead. But it's a big mistake, as he learns real fast that those mushrooms are poisonous. After suffering through the side effects, he swears to himself that he's never eating anything suspicious off the ground again. With that painful lesson behind him, he pushes deeper into the forest in search of actual prey. He's had enough of worm meat and refuses to live off garbage. After wandering for a while, he finally catches sight of a gray wolf nearby. It's clearly larger than he is, but that doesn't stop him. He blasts it with his baby breath and finishes it off with a solid dragon punch. The flames singe the wolf's fur, and the smell that hits his nose reminds him of grilled meat. Intrigued, he uses his breath again to cook it a little more, and when he takes a bite, it tastes incredible. Not long after, he runs into another gray wolf and takes it down even faster than the last one. And all that kills earns him a massive level boost, shooting him all the way up to level 20 out of 25. He realizes he's only 5 levels away from reaching evolution again. As he cooks and eats the second wolf just like before, it slowly dawns on him that this lifestyle, fighting, hunting, and feasting like a dragon, is starting to feel natural. He's becoming a dragon, for real, but even with all the strength he's gaining, the silence around him is beginning to wear thin. With no one to talk to but the divine voice, it's starting to feel lonely. Deep down, he finds himself wishing for someone, a companion, a friend, to share this strange new world with. Surprisingly, that wish is granted way sooner than he expected, as not long after, he hears faint voices echoing from somewhere up ahead. He can't make out the language, but just hearing them sparks hope inside him as those are human voices. He quickly ducks behind a nearby tree, peeking out just enough to spot a group of adventurers heading his way. For a second, he considers stepping out and introducing himself. But then reality hits, he's a dragon now, and they might see him as a threat the second they lay eyes on him. Still, a small part of him wonders maybe if they see how tiny, harmless, and kinda adorable he is, they might not attack, or maybe they'd even take him in as a pet. With that little spark of hope in his chest, he steps out from behind the tree and positions himself in front of the group, doing his absolute best to come off as cute and harmless. Unfortunately, the plan bombs completely because the adventurers don't see a cute creature. They see a prize, just another dragon to skin and sell. Without a moment's pause, the leader of the group lunges forward and slashes him right across the chest with his sword. Before he can even react, the man casts a paralyzing spell that floods through his body, locking his muscles in place and robbing him of all control. He tries to flee, but his limbs won't move. He collapses to the ground, helpless, as the adventurers slowly approach, blades ready, clearly preparing to finish the job. That's when it hits him how naive he'd been to think a dragon could ever get along with humans. After everything he'd survived, all the strength he fought so hard to gain, it felt like it was all about to be tossed away in a pointless, pathetic death. But just as the leader raises his weapon for the killing blow, a female adventurer suddenly steps in and blocks his path. She says there's no reason to kill something so tiny, harmless, and downright adorable. Stunned, he blinks up at her, completely unsure why he's still breathing. Then, he feels something warm spread through his body, and looking up, he realizes she's healing him. He quickly activates his appraisal skill and finds out that her name is Miria. Her MP's nearly drained, yet she's still using what little magic she has left to help him, and that alone stirs something inside him. Miria then keeps talking to him in a gentle tone, and after a little while, the system chimes in and announces that he's just unlocked the Greek language skill. If he levels it up, he'll be able to understand human speech even more clearly. But that quiet, heartwarming moment doesn't last long, as a sudden chorus of terrified screams erupts in the distance. Miria's face goes pale because she instantly recognizes the voices, and without thinking, she turns and bolts toward the source. He grabs her arm in a panic, trying desperately to stop her. He warns her through gestures that whatever's out there is way too dangerous to face on her own, but she shakes him off and runs anyway. Left behind, he stares for a moment, then clenches his jaw. He can't just sit there while the one person who showed him kindness runs straight into danger. Forcing himself back onto his feet, he rushes after her with everything he's got. When he finally reaches the battlefield, his heart sinks. Towering over the chaos is a rock dragon, classified as a C-rank threat, and the damn thing has 197 HP. And that kind of durability means it'd take a ton of power to bring down. Miria's already been wounded trying to fight it off, so he calls out to her in a panic. But the moment his voice reaches her, the rock dragon locks eyes with him instead. And now, with that massive monster staring directly at him, his whole body locks up. He can't breathe, can't move. And for a terrifying second, he wonders if this really is the end. He has zero clue how the hell he's supposed to take down a monster like that. Right then, the voice in Elusia's head starts screaming at him to run if he wants to live. And as much as Elusia knows the divine warning is spot on, he just can't bring himself to leave Miria behind after she literally saved his ass moments ago. So even if it costs him his life, he's not backing down. He steps out, revealing himself to pull the dragon's attention away from her. As the beast charges at him, Elusia rolls hard to the side, narrowly dodging and smashing a punch straight into its face. As he lands, he spots one of Miria's teammates collapse nearby, but the guy's HP is already flatlined, so no saving him now. The other one's barely hanging on, pinned under a fallen tree with just 5 HP left, so he's not gonna last much longer either. Elusia knows he's gotta act fast if he wants to save anyone, so he comes up with a risky plan. Slam into the dragon's head again, bait it into chasing him, and drag it far enough away so he can double back and rescue the survivors. But the dragon isn't some dumb brute. It suddenly uses a skill that blasts apart the ground in front of him, sending Elusia crashing hard into the dirt. The dragon lunges in for the kill, but Elusia throws a desperate fire punch right into its mouth, and to his surprise, it actually lands and does real damage. For a split second, he thinks he might stand a chance. But then, right before his eyes, the monster's HP bar starts refilling right back up as the dragon instantly regenerates. His heart sinks, so there's no chance in hell he's taking this thing down like he is now. He turns and runs while the beast is still focused on healing, knowing he has to make a choice and fast, so there's no way he can carry both survivors. Gritting his teeth, he chooses to save Miria, leaving the other guy behind, fully aware of what that means. He manages to get her to a safe distance, but she's still bleeding out and her HP's dropping fast. He curses his lack of healing spells or medical knowledge. All he can do now is follow the faint scent of humans in the air and hope there's a settlement nearby with someone who can help. But along the way, he catches another scent, but this time, it's the reek of wolves. Dozens of them. They've picked up Miria's blood and are closing in fast, and within moments, he's surrounded, completely boxed in with no clear escape route. Left with no choice, Elusia gently lays Miria down, turns to face the encroaching pack, and prepares to fight because now it's either them or him. Shortly after, Miria briefly regains consciousness and catches a blurry glimpse of Elusia locked in battle, desperately fighting to protect her. But her body's still too wrecked to move, and she blacks out again within seconds. Hours drag by and long into the night. Elusia keeps going, still hauling her in his arms despite his body nearly giving out. But finally, his effort pays off, and he makes it to the gates of a human village. With the last bit of strength he's got, he starts shouting for help, begging someone to come save Miria. But to the villagers, all they hear is the terrifying roar of a monster echoing through the night. When the locals rush out to see what's going on, they're met with the horrifying sight of a dragon cradling an unconscious girl in its arms. Panic sets in, and without a second thought, they attack. Elusia tries to explain himself to show he means no harm, but they don't understand a word, just more growls and snarls to their ears, so he realizes fast there's no way to reason with them. And with no other choice, he gently lays Miria down and bolts back into the woods, not wanting to make things worse. Later on, Miria finally wakes up in a soft bed and finds Marielle sitting beside her. Marielle explains that she was badly wounded and needed heavy white magic to heal. Miria learns she'd been unconscious for about 2 days. Her memories of what happened are fuzzy, so she assumes someone must carry her back to the village. Marielle starts scolding her for being so reckless, heading out into the forest with just Dawes and Grants at her side. That mention alone makes Miria tense up, and she immediately asks what happened to them. Marielle doesn't sugarcoat it. After they rescued Miria, search teams went looking for the others. They found Grants' lifeless body in the forest. As for Dawes, his corpse was never found. All they discovered was a massive bloodstain under a tree, and from the looks of it, he likely became some monster's dinner. That news shatters Miria, and tears start pouring down her face as the guilt crashes in. She blames herself for not stopping Dawes from going through with the mission. Marielle tries to comfort her, saying Dawes was always a hothead who never listened when someone warned him. But Miria says that Dawes might have been reckless, sure, but he was a good man. The kind who jumped in front of monsters to protect the village, so the kids loved him for that. But maybe he cared too much about being seen as a real warrior. One night at the tavern, some guy mocked him, saying he'd never be able to take down a rock dragon no matter how hard he tried. That hit a nerve, so by the next morning, he'd already made up his mind he was going to kill that rock dragon with Grants. Miria tried to stop him. She warned him it was insane. But once he locked onto something, he never let it go. So she went with them, just to make sure he'd make it back alive. But in the end, it wasn't enough. Marielle tells her it was Dawes' pride that got him killed, and if nothing else, Maria should make damn sure she never makes that same mistake. But aside from that, she admits Miria did pretty well making it back to the village in one piece, considering how messed up her injuries were. That catches Miria off guard, and she's completely shocked to hear that she supposedly returned on her own because as far as she remembers, she was unconscious the entire time. Marielle has no idea what she means. From her point of view, Miria stumbled back to the village alone, only to be attacked by a baby dragon at the gates. But Miria insists that she was knocked out cold by the rock dragon deep in the forest, so there's just no way she could walk back on her own. She starts questioning if her memories just scrambled from all the trauma, but then something clicks, and she remembers catching a glimpse of Elusia fending off the wolves. Maybe he was the one who brought her back, but with nobody able to identify the creature before it vanished into the woods, she has no way to know for sure. At the same time, Elusia wakes up from a nap, and all his injuries are completely gone. He figured a little rest would do the trick, but it still blows his mind how fast he recovers now. If he'd been reborn as a human, he'd probably still be coughing up blood. But that makes him wonder how Miria is doing. He knows there's no way he can go check in person because the villagers would slice him to ribbons the second they saw him, so he's stuck with nothing but hope that she pulled through. He used to think leveling up made him stronger, but after what happened with the rock dragon, he realizes the brutal truth. He's not any stronger than he was when he hatched. If he had been, maybe he could save that other guy too, but there's no point in crying over it now. What matters now is leveling up and getting better. Later, Elusia stumbles across a colony of dark worms and decides they'll make the perfect XP farm, but what follows is a one-sided slaughter. He wipes out every last one of them in a full-blown extermination. And by the end of it, not a single worm is left breathing, and Elusia officially hits level 25, and that means he's finally eligible to evolve again. He heads over to the lake, settles in comfortably, and tells the system to begin the evolution process. A moment later, a menu pops up asking him to pick between 5 new forms. They're all some variation of small dragon, and then there's the plague dragon option, which he's already leaning away from. He has no clue what the differences between them even are, so he asks the system to break it down for him, and it starts walking him through what each title actually means. With little dragons, they grow strong really fast, but their level cap is lower, so their potential kind of flatlines later on. As for kid dragons, they're pretty much just upgraded baby dragons that still keep the high growth potential intact. Mini dragons sit somewhere in the middle. They don't have as many evolution paths, but their tree is solid and stable. Based on everything he's just learned, Elusia feels like one of the kid dragon forms might be the way to go. Still, before locking in his pick, he asks for a more detailed breakdown of what each one can actually do. The system explains that many dragons are a race known for slow personal growth and limited evolution choices, but they tend to have strong, long-term potential. That sounds kind of promising, except Elusia isn't exactly thrilled about the slow start part. Then there's the mini angel dragon. It's basically a guardian-type spirit that devotes its entire existence to protecting others. It comes with powerful healing magic, which definitely catches Elusia's attention, especially after seeing Miria's magic firsthand. That kind of support could really come in hand, but there's a catch. The mini angel dragon totally sucks in combat, and in a brutal forest like this, that's a massive red flag. He needs to survive, not just babysit people. Next up is the kid dragon. The system tells him it's more or less a direct upgrade of his baby dragon form, just with all of its stats boosted across the board. Then there's the kid marble dragon, which is nearly identical, but with one key difference. It has a mutation that gives it a polka dot pattern and a super high affinity for magic. Elusia is really tempted by that one because having stronger magic sounds like a huge win in this world. But then the system starts laying out the info for the young plague dragon. It's the first evolution stage of a disaster-spreading evil dragon, and right away, Elusia cuts the explanation short. That one's a hard pass because he has zero interest in becoming an evil dragon. People already freak out just from seeing him, so if he turns into something literally described as a bringer of disaster, he can forget ever making a single friend. But just when he's about to dismiss it entirely, the system casually drops a game changer. The plague dragon can shapeshift into a human. That makes Elusia freeze. Suddenly, the evil dragon option doesn't seem so bad. If he can take on human form, he might finally be able to speak with people, connect with others, and actually have a normal conversation for once. And even if he has to carry the whole evil dragon title, maybe it'd be worth the risk. This was the end of episode 2. Subscribe to not miss the next episode.